Hello, everyone. I'm grooving out to our little intro music. Welcome to the Impact Tribe podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Bright. This is a show where we meet exceptional people taking bold steps to create a positive impact in the world. If you're seeing this or hearing it, please give us a follow or a subscribe on whatever platform you are using. A big shout out to our sponsor, MakerTank. MakerTank is the all-in-one command center for founders and small business owners ready to ditch the chaos and scale with clarity. MakerTank allows you to centralize, automate, and actually run your business without drowning in busy work. Visit makertank.com today to join the exclusive founders waiting list. So thank you again to MakerTank. All right, let's dive into the show. Today's guest is an ad agency veteran, a creative troublemaker, and a co-founder of Geezer, the agency built to help brands win the 50-plus demographic, the me's of the world. He's launched global campaigns for Domino's, PopSockets, and Lyft, and has sharpened his skills at creative powerhouses like Crispin Porter Bogusky and David&Goliath. At Geezer, he's the funny one with a sharp eye and a big heart, and just enough selective hearing to tune out all that BS and make great work happen. So, without any further ado, please put your hands together for my friend, John Kieselhorst. John, let me get you up on stage here. Boom! Right. There you are. Hey there, my friend.
What an intro. Wow. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I appreciate it. And I mean, well-deserved. So thank you.
You know, I mean, I've been around the block for sure. I've lived some lives, and you know, Geezer I think is sort of an interesting, sort of surprising place to land in my career in a way. And I never in my wildest dreams would have thought I'd be doing, you know, something like this at this stage in my career and in my life, but you know, I'm embracing it.
That's wonderful.
It's cool. It feels like what I should be doing, and it feels like there's a huge white space and culture around this. And I don't know, I think our generation somehow have to do things our own way. You know what I mean? Like we gotta be us. And
yeah, well, and I was going to say, you said sort of like this white space and embracing where you are, and it's so funny because I have teenage sons and they're always going, you know, like old man this or old man that, and I think there's this inherent quality as we start to get older of sort of like, yeah, I guess we're just old men. Oh well, but I love that you kind of said, yeah. Hell yeah, let's own this.
I'm a geezer.
Exactly. Right. Let's put it on a hat. Right. Let's put it on a shirt. We're going to put it on a sign in front of our office. And I still remember, it must have been, I don't know, 6 months or maybe more ago now, maybe more, where I first learned about Geezer. My wife sent me this article in the New York Times about the sort of the Gen X creative plight.
The wayward Gen X creative souls.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And I remember at the time thinking like it was sort of both on one hand, like, oh crap. But on the other hand, like, oh, okay, I guess it's not just me that's feeling this. And that was the first time I heard of Geezer. And I was like, this is cool. They're embracing it. And then I don't even know how the stars aligned that we sort of got connected. And then I met our buddy Augie and then started participating in this community. And so lots of things to talk about.
Well, you know, I must say it's like credit where credit's due. And my partner, Karen, is, you know, this was her idea. So she's had this cooking for a long time. And I think I was maybe like the fourth or fifth person that she went to with the idea. So I'm just the kind of sucker that like decided, it was like, fuck it, you know, I got nothing better going on, I might as well do this.
Or
actually,
you're the brave, insightful soul that saw the potential.
You know, I gotta say, I think it was kind of that in a way, because, you know, Karen and I met doing another agency. I had an agency before this. Actually, we spun out of Crispin with this idea called Made, and it was in 2012. So we launched made in 2012, and it was the first agency that had ever been built to help clients that made things in the United States succeed. So that was sort of the stated mission, was we only worked on businesses that made things here. And in our minds, right, this was like more ecological. It was kind of way ahead of this kind of Trumpian curve. But I mean, I think we saw it as a more enlightened way to kind of be local, like, I think that was the kind of like gist of it. And, there were a host of benefits that we saw coming along with that. And so, and I think that experience stuck with me, and it obviously stuck with Karen too, because I think coming through this, and I think starting to confront some of the issues around, especially as a woman, you know what I mean? Like in the ad business, as you get into your latter years and you start looking around and being like, not a lot of gray-haired folk around these halls. And then, you know what I mean? Like the pandemic and, the last 5 years, it's like, it really does start to kind of, I don't know, like shake you a little bit. And, but this idea, right, that this older cohort, possess the lion's share of the financial resources, right? They're huge consumers and were summarily ignored by culture in many, many ways. Like we're not the aspiration, even though we are the aspiration. In terms, it's a weird, conundrum, because advertising worships youth, you know what I mean? It always has and probably always will. And for, somewhat good reasons, but, to us, it felt sort of strange, right? That so much progress had been made in culture, right? And yet age was sort of one of these dimensions that people had kind of largely ignored. And so, I think that was kind of Karen's, the kind of seed of the idea. But there wasn't a name. And I think, for me, to cut a long story short, I think the one thing that did come out of the conversation with Karen, because when she originally came with the idea, I was kind of like, it's cool. You know what I mean? Like, it's definitely edgy, you know what I mean? Which ticks the box for me in some way, right? But then I was like, man, is this cool? Can I do this? But there was something about how the name, and because there wasn't a name, right? And so we were started talking about it, and the first idea was something around the lines of like modern geezer or contemporary geezer, or
all these qualifiers.
Like yeah, there was like a qualifier as part of the name, but then
we're cool.
The more that we were just like, man, if it was just like geezer, you know what I mean, and that was the thing, and we just kind of leaned into the pejorative and owned that, you know what I mean, and like use that as a badge of pride. I don't know, something unlocked in me at that moment where I was like, all right, I think I got to do this, because this is, this feels like it could be cool and unusual and maybe big. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like TBD, it's early days. So you always hope that things scale, but
but you gotta put a stake in the ground, draw the line in the sand, whatever that is. And I think that what I love about it is that it's sort of in this name, it's sort of at the same time acknowledging the reality of the perception within culture that you spoke of like, you're old, like, go over there, like nobody, you got no ideas, we're not selling anything to you, blah blah blah.
Right.
But on the other hand, acknowledging the reality, which is that I think our generation is we're living longer, we're healthier, we're I think very few of us, whether through necessity or desire, are like, yeah, I'm just going to sit around and do nothing for the next 30, 40 years.
Yeah. Right.
And so I think there's this, I love that it's just, it's sort of a big, like, to use that, it's like a big billboard saying like, hello, we're here, you know, don't pretend we're not, and we're not going to be quiet about it. And I love that you guys you dropped the qualifiers. It's not cool geezers, modern geezers, contemporary geezers. It's just like geezer,
just straight up geese, you know.
Exactly. Yes, I love it. I want to thank one of the people who just joined us in the comments. Gen X here. I love the name, so thank you, Tracy, for joining us. I'm going to get my hands on one of these hats. I got a pre-conversation in the green room where I was like, I need a hat.
And then, you know, I think as we were casting about for a logo, like this sort of like memento mori, as I like to call it, the classic, you know, kind of skate era skull, you know, but through the lens of more of like a Neanderthal skull. So like a truly old geezer level skull.
We're unpacking just this
quickly emerged as my logo of choice, you know. So and I think it kind of helped really cement that idea of what we were trying to do. And it's the idea has also is progressing too, from this notion of simply being an agency to becoming more of a kind of community and trying to advocate, I think, for our generation to try to, I don't know, build some things, to make some change in culture, in business, to be able to, I don't know, like go on doing the things that we love to do, that we're great at doing, deeper into our, you know, latter years, and not see, I don't know, kind of maybe intrude upon this myth that we should all just be shut away and play golf and, you know, be quiet and grow roses and retire. You know what I mean? Like safely out of sight from the rest of society. And, you know, I just don't, that's not what our generation is going to do, you know?
No,
and so,
I mean,
there have to be these places where, you know what I mean? Like where we can advocate for ourselves, where we can start to incubate new business ideas and, you know, ways of kind of, I don't know, pushing out of the confines, I think, that the market and, you know, culture have kind of imposed upon older people, and create something different, to create some new avenues for ourselves to
I mean, I think it is true Gen Z, or excuse me, Gen X spirit all the way through, because I feel like our generation was pushing up against conformity when we were younger, trying to find our own communities and create our own scene. And then ironically, many of us then got sucked into the system, and then ironically spit out the other side now. And I love that we're like, okay, we're still going to push against it, because we're not just going to go away quietly.
Well, because the system isn't working, and we all know, like, we helped fucking build the system, so we know, you know what I mean? Like, there's flexibility in there, and there has to be flexibility. There is, you know, and I think, I don't know, like, it's time to start sort of asking some like bigger, deeper questions about like what's desirable, you know, because I don't think that the concept of retirement is a good one necessarily. You know what I mean? Like I don't think that is good for old people. I don't think that it's good for your sense of purpose as a person. I don't think that it is good for our society to have our elders shut away as though they're somehow infirmed, you know, and to essentially largely cut them off from having a role and a voice, and you know what I mean, like a point of access and community with the younger generations. Like I just don't think that that's a desirable outcome for anyone, because I think it deprives younger people of wisdom. I think that there is a lot of experience that our generation has that it is and I don't know. I don't think that it has to be this kind of pedantic, like old people lecturing you on how shit should be. I don't think that that's what our generation is about anyway,
No, no, yeah,
Um, but granted, there are going to be some crusty fuckers. There's some bitterness. There's some, you know, there's some issues that I think need to also get aired out. Um,
absolutely, yeah.
and so I don't know. That's kind of the next phase of Geezer is starting to build a community where some of that stuff can come out,
Yeah,
be discussed in sort of a safe space for us, and I don't know, hopefully lead to some things, some projects that could become really interesting cultural experiments in how how geezers can kind of be a vital part of culture and society still.
absolutely. And I mean, I mentioned it briefly in the beginning. I mean, we met through a community of Gen X creatives, and it was
Yeah,
interesting because 6, 8 months ago, I think I mentioned the New York Times article, I was sort of feeling like I was this lone individual on an island. Like, what is it about me? And
yeah,
suddenly I realized that
right.
there's a huge community. And to your point, these
Yeah,
are, and I mean, these are
yeah,
individuals that have built incredible things and had
yeah,
an incredible influence on culture, and they've done a lot of things, and they have a lot of value and insight.
yeah,
And to see so many of them cast aside or just trying to figure out what the next step is.
yeah,
And that's why I
right.
think, we haven't mentioned Augie, but our buddy Augie and what he
Yeah,
built in the Molten Men group, and the opportunity, I think, much like what you've been describing, to create dialogue, create connection, create
hmm,
space
hmm,
for figuring out what that is, and whether that
yeah,
is sort of looking to younger people and helping bring them up, or looking to ourselves and helping move us forward, or something we
yeah,
haven't thought of yet.
yeah,
It's so powerful and so interesting, and
yeah.
I'm glad you're doing it, my friend.
Well, I mean, I think I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting, we're in an interesting inflection point, I think, in history
That
right
is
now.
for
And
sure.
I think that when you do get sort of beaten up and spit out by the machine somehow, right, it does make you kind of reckon with that stuff, and then start to really think about, like, how we started out as Gen X, where it was sort of like no one was going to build this shit for us. No
Yeah.
one was going to employ us. You know what I mean? Like, we had to kind of figure shit out ourselves
Yeah.
somewhat.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's how we kind of grew up. And I think that that was also kind of how we approached a lot of our career decisions early on, before the creative businesses were kind of like, oh, no, 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 you come in here and we'll pay you lots of money, and then you'll work on all the things.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know, to me it feels like a really exciting time to kind of, I don't know, reinvent like what the latter half of our lives is supposed to look like, and how we're supposed to operate in those lives vitally and excitedly, and with like determination and vigor and excitement, and create new things, like
Yeah.
create new um I don't know, businesses and ways of making money, ways of paying our own way, ways of innovating that I don't know, aren't on the table right now. The whole world obsessed with AI and what it will and
Yeah.
won't do for
Well,
us,
and
and yeah,
I mean, you said innovate. I think that, there is no shortage of challenges to be addressed right now. And
right,
you name it, culture,
yeah,
industry, environment, it's everywhere. And
global
to
warming,
Yeah,
Still a
yeah,
thing,
exactly.
you know?
Everything. And just and I think
Yeah.
to create, for in this case, it's like Gen X creatives and people of that background, but there are so many others like that that are coming together to say,
Yeah.
how do we solve these problems? How do we think a new perspective? And it's
Right.
it's like that glass half full, half empty thing. I have this conversation with that 17-year-old who's way more engaged in this stuff than I ever was. And I
Mm.
say that, like, yes, we can look at this as like, oh my God, it's all falling apart and it's nuts and everyone's arguing and it's terrible. Everything's on fire.
Yeah.
And there's obviously some truth to that.
Woe is us.
Woe is exactly. Or
Yeah.
we can
Right.
harness that creative problem solving that we have. And hey,
Yeah.
well, how do we look at this differently? How do
Yeah.
we could we do this instead of that? Could we,
Right.
what's this model that we can adapt or create? And
Yeah.
that's, to me, what gives me hope, what gets me
Yeah.
excited, and people like yourself and others. And so I want to kind of get to this before we sort of go too far,
Sure.
but because we're here, we're in our current space, we're looking forward, but I'm curious, as someone who, I loved ads and the ad game and things like that.
Sure.
How did you, like, what is your sort of origin story in terms of, like, why advertising? Like, what was it about that, of all the creative pursuits, that sort of got you,
You know,
excited?
I came out of school. I went to art school. I didn't study design in my undergraduate life. I was on track to sort of become a lawyer,
Oh, wow.
and then a really good family friend of mine was like, kind of talked me out of it. Had kind of seen me,
Yeah.
and was like, I don't know, man. Like, just take a year and do something that you really want to do, like something creative. And
Yeah.
then if you still want to go to law school at the end of that year, like, go to law school by all means. But, like,
Law
think about
school.
it,
I'm still I'm
Oh yeah.
trying to picture that right now.
Yeah. No, I was on this track. I was gonna join the like foreign service and,
Mhm.
do that whole kind of pathway, but like through law. And anyway, I thank God. You know what I mean?
I was
Like,
gonna
thank
say,
God I chose a
thank
different
you,
path
your
because,
friend.
2 years later, I was in graduate school. I was in a graduate program at Cal Arts for design, and
Mhm.
and that was, I think, a program that was right for me. You know what I mean? Like, it was made for me because I think it kind of got, it embraced where I was as a designer, which wasn't super skilled. Like, I think I'd absorbed a lot of culture and I'd absorbed a lot of artwork, and I had a pretty good basis, but like, I just like drank from the fire hose when I was in school. You know what I mean? Like, I just like found my place and my
Yeah.
people, and and I just like consumed it,
Mhm.
like full time. That it just like I just drank it in, and so it really kind of shot me out the other side. I mean, it energized, I think, a lot of what I'd kind of had inside already.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of like the turning point for me, was in terms of knowing that I wanted to do this. At the time, everyone in school was like, wanted to be a flash animator, you know what I mean?
Ah,
And was
yes.
coming out of school and going to
I
work for
remember that.
Razorfish, and that
Yep.
was the best gig you could get, right? Was like
I
going to
did work
work
for
for,
Razorfish, but I
oh
was
yeah, yeah,
but it was
or
after it
March
was cool.
1st,
Yeah,
or
March
yeah,
1st.
right, like one of those. This was like 99. So I graduated in 2000, and
Yep.
then like 2 months into my summer of just like, oh yeah, cool, I'm gonna go get an awesome job. It was like the whole economy just went, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, took the biggest shit on, like, my hopes. And when I first moved to Los Angeles, actually, my dream was to get out of school and to go work for Capitol Records, right? Like,
Yeah,
that's what I really wanted to do, was go design record labels
yeah.
and or record sleeves. And by the time I got out, it was like Napster had obliterated
Yeah.
the whole industry. I knew one guy that still, he was at Maverick Records, who still had a job, but that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I gotta like retool, I gotta rethink. But I'd kind of been doing a lot of branding work already,
Mhm.
and I think that was kind of where I'd found my, kind of place in school. Was like, all right, it was like a white space, I guess, because everybody else was obsessed with Flash animation, and I was like, all right, I'll lean into identity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it just worked out that I ended up teaming up. I found a job finally working for this man named Brian Collins, who at the time was running a division of Ogilvy in New York called the Brand Integration Group. And it was the first time that like branding, like design and advertising had kind of cohabitated and sat at the same table, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, at a major ad agency doing work for Fortune 500 companies and, Fortune 100s. And it was a real deal. So I ended up working for this woman, Rebecca Mendez, who was like a pretty famous
I know
designer
that name. Yep.
from Art Center. Yeah.
Yep.
And an amazing practitioner. I mean, just an incredible designer, very passionate. And then Brian was our boss. And Brian is also just like one of the, I mean, most influential people in the probably the history of creative thinking in the last 2 decades. And so
Yeah.
I've just had, I don't know, some weird good fortune to stumble into um, relationships with people that happen to be pretty cool, like Brian and Rebecca. And
Yeah.
so, that was kind of my first taste of the ad world was working for them, and it kind of, went from
It
there.
stuck.
So,
It stuck.
yeah. Well, I mean, you get a taste of the scale, and then, and I was still just designing logos and brochures and, ad
Yeah.
material
Yeah.
at the time. But, it kind of opened a door for me to see, the ability to make commercials and, do a lot of the things that were sort of designers weren't allowed to do, but I
Yes.
felt like
Yes.
I could do,
Yeah.
or I should do. And so I don't know. And I think I've just kind of gone from there. And yeah.
It's I mean it just so even the names you mentioned there like parallel some of the experiences I had, but it was this, this kind of meandering, as the technology evolved and the market tanked and it was
Yeah.
Razorfish. I mean, all those names, Razorfish, March 1st. I mean, March 1st had a freaking Super Bowl
Yeah.
ad for
Oh
themselves,
yeah.
which
Yeah.
was like,
Right.
what is going on in this world?
What? Yeah. Right.
Are we
Totally.
cool? What? Are we that
Yeah.
cool? We could have a Super Bowl
Oh
commercial?
yeah. Yeah. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
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 And so here we are. So it's like that journey and now we're kind of 25 years later and we have
Yeah.
abundant amounts of wisdom and experience and you have the gray on your head, I got the gray on the beard, we to prove that we've gone
Yeah.
through the shit,
Yeah.
as they say.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we've
and
survived.
yeah, and I mean, advertising's evolved, right? Like, I think it's I think it's evolving further still. It's
Yep.
not ever going to slow down,
Hmm. Hmm.
and so I think that kind of finding a lane in that, you know what I mean, but finding a way that you can kind of contribute to the ongoing innovation of
Hmm.
this industry, right? Is like I think where Geezer's at. And part of what I see to be the next evolution or the next big, white space for us is community, is actually creating authentic connections between um, brands and consumers, right? Like I think
Yeah.
that's always been the kind of holy grail of advertising, is like, how do you connect those things, right? Like in ways that are mutually beneficial and genuine and
Hmm.
emotional, and not smarmy and fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, how do you give both sides value
Yeah.
and a win in the relationship? And I don't know. So I think community is coming on strong for us that way, because I think that is part of how you do it, and how you
Absolutely.
should do it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so wonderful, and I want to be respectful of time. I know you've got to jump into something else, but is there you talked about sort of the community you're starting to form, you're starting to shape with Geezer and other things. Is there
Mhm.
anything in terms of tangibility that if people want to learn more or get in touch, ways they can do that, or what would you like them to know?
I mean, if you guys are interested, we'll be, we're advertisers, so
Yeah, there'll
we'll
be a
get the
launch
word out
story.
when there's something to pay attention to. But if you want to get ahead of it, you can sign up on our website for, just get your email address in there, and you will see something from us when the community launches. We're going to start beta testing here in the next couple weeks, and then the hope is to kind of build that. And I think that the idea is that Geyser can become sort of more of a larger, weirder animal, where it's sort of like, I don't know, like people that we want to freelance with, they're part of this community, and we're employing people out of that community, but we're also selling things in the community. So it's like, and we're curating content, and we're hosting workshops, and we're bringing all of our friends in to kind of operate their kind of coaching, and so it's going to be cool. It's going to be an experiment, but I think it's going to possibly be a really interesting new expression for what an agency can be.
Yeah, quotes over that. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, that is awesome. I mean, I love that I love that it is this very kind of amorphous and changing. I mean, like a true community. Like, we're going to help people here. We're going to bring this in. We're going to see. And so, yeah. So, thank you so much, my friend. And for anyone listening, if you aren't connected with Geyser or John, do so. It's a force, and it's entertaining and wonderful and embracing. And so, don't miss it. And if you can, get yourself some gear. We can all rep our true Geyser, our Geyser label and own it.
We have some compression socks available still on the website.
I love it.
I haven't sold through the compression socks yet. I'd love to.
Awesome. All right. Well, with that, my friend, I want to thank you again, and good luck with everything. And thanks for what you're doing.
Having me on. It was awesome. Great to see you, man.
Yeah. All right, my friend. We'll see you around.
Pleasure.
Cheers.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Big thank you again to John for being here. If you aren't connected with John, get connected through LinkedIn or through Geyser. Fabulous group of people, and I think really leading the way forward in terms of what creativity can be, what community can be, and how we kind of deal with or capitalize on this disruption. So with that, I want to thank everyone for tuning in. If you want to watch the replay on LinkedIn or YouTube, or listen to the podcast on your favorite platform, please do. And if you are, don't forget to follow, subscribe, and maybe give us a comment, and please share with your friends. And if you like this, I'd love it if you join me for the next Impact Tribe podcast, which is going to be Thursday, August 14th, with my special guest, Stephen Rossi. Stephen is part inventor, part rebel, and all heart. He's the founder and CEO of WorkSport, a company fusing clean tech with tough trucks to build a better future. With nearly 100 patents and 50 million raised and zero interest in doing things the normal way, he's proving that you can scale a company and a conscience at the same time. He's living proof that real innovation doesn't just scale. It sustains, inspires, and leaves a brighter future for the next generation. So I'm hyped for that. So don't miss that conversation. And so that's going to be happening August 14th. All right, big shout out to our sponsor, Maker Tank. And until next time, everyone, thank you for creating a positive impact in your world. Together, we can make change happen. Good night, everyone. Well, good night. Cheers.